back! Oh, and you've brought some friends with you this time!
Hello, my name's Linny. I grew up in the House of the Hearth. And you are?
Hi, Linny. I'm also a child of the House of the Hearth, just like you. You can call me Clervie.
Clervie?
It's nice to meet you.
Does that name ring any bells, Linny?
No, not at all. That's not a name we have on our roster, I'm sure of it. What I'm not sure of, though, is how she managed to sneak in. She must be the phantom child Father's been searching for. From the looks of it, I'm guessing you were the one that found her, Fremine. You, haven't told Father, have you?
No, I haven't told anyone. I've just been keeping her hidden.
For how long?
About half a month now.
So ever since we got to Poisson, then. Do you have any idea what you're doing?
I know what I'm doing.
Really? 'Cause from where I'm standing, it looks like you're hiding the very person Father has been trying to find. If Father finds out about this, everyone involved is going to be punished. You know the rules of the house, Fremine. I know you do. Father doesn't tolerate any form of betrayal. So why are you doing this?
I've thought it through. And I just can't hand her over like that. Linny, don't you remember last year? Sheplo nearly died after getting poisoned during that one mission. He wasn't able to get back before the poison started taking effect, and not a single person was there to help him. That night, while I was sleeping, I heard a voice telling me to go save him. I opened my eyes, but I couldn't find the source of the voice. I thought maybe I was just hearing things, but I went to look for him anyway. Luckily, I got there with enough time to save his life. That feeling of being haunted, of hearing voices, it's happened many times in the House of the Hearth. I'm sure you've noticed.
So what you're saying is, that was her? She was the one who spoke to you that night?
Unless there are other spirits roaming around the House of the Hearth, I don't think there's any other possibility. If Clervie were our enemy, it wouldn't matter whether she was a spirit or an actual child. I would have acted without a second thought, because that's what Father ordered us to do. But she's been living with us, helping us from the shadows all this time. I think that makes her family. I couldn't just hand her over to be dealt with. Not when there's so much we still don't know.
So what's your plan then? You can't keep her here forever. Someone is bound to find out eventually.
I haven't thought that far yet. I don't want to disobey an order from Father, but I also don't want to put Clervie in danger.
Come with me. There are a couple things I'd like to say to you in private.
Those two sure care a lot about each other.
Well, they got a funny way of showing it. From where Paimon was floating, it sure seemed like they were about to bite each other's heads off.
No way! They have a really deep bond. I could tell right away, because I also have a friend like that. I just don't know how long that kind of bond can last. The darkness in the house runs deeper than you can imagine. No one can get out alive. Oh, it's raining. I should put my clothes away.
Well, back to the matter at hand then. If we don't plan on handing Clervie over to Father, then our only other option is to solve the mystery of her identity before Father is able to track her down. That means finding out where she came from and what she's doing here. Then we can send her on her merry way and pretend like none of this ever happened.
I've tried that already.
And?
And nothing. I tried taking her somewhere really far away, but after some time, she just reappeared. She even came with us all the way to Poisson. It seems like wherever the house is, she follows.
I don't know much about spirits. Do you two have any ideas?
I Let's see here. Paimon remembers hearing something like, if you fulfill a spirit's last wish before they died, they'll let go of whatever's keeping them here and return to the ley lines. Oh, it's just that Paimon doesn't really remember where she heard that, so it's not guaranteed to work or anything.
I'm full. Thank you for bringing me this food, you guys.
She said she's full, but the food doesn't look like it's even been touched.
That's right. Based on what I've been able to observe, it doesn't seem like Clervie can interact with the physical world at all. Still, when she's presented with food, she'll always linger around it for a good little while. Maybe, in her mind, she really is eating those things.
Does she know that she has already passed away?
I've tried to ask her, but she didn't answer. My guess is that she's just as confused as we are. Or maybe she couldn't understand the question at all.
Clervie, if you've got some time, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure. Oh, another new friend. Hi, I'm Clervie.
Hello.
Clervie, how did you join the House of the Hearth?
Huh? Isn't it the same for everybody? The knave brings you here and then you can't leave.
It's just that your name, it's not on the roster. And I've never seen you before.
The roster? Oh, I get it now. I think there might be some things you don't know about this place. The people in charge, they're not as nice as they look. They say they keep a roster, but it's not complete. There are a lot of people who aren't on it, and never will be. In this house, some people are family, and other people are just test subjects. Those kinds of people aren't ever going to get a place on the roster, unless it's the roster of people who've been executed.
Wait, does that mean the knave... She...
Is there anyone that can vouch for you?
Perry, she's my best friend. She's the only one I trust in this place.
Have either of you heard of that name before?
No.
Me neither.
Clervie, Perry. Neither of those names are on the roster. But it seems like she's telling the truth. Either that, or this kid's already got a bag of tricks bigger than mine. Maybe we should try a different approach. Clervie, do you have a wish?
A wish?
It can be anything you want. Just imagine. It's your birthday, you're blowing out the candles, and your wish is...
To go outside, where the sun can find me.
That's... it? Well, that sounds easy enough.
The darkness in the house runs deeper than you can imagine. No one can get out alive.
Okay, time to divide and conquer. Listen up, I've got a plan. I'll try and find a way to use basic illusory magic to take Clervie outside and bring her somewhere with sunlight. Lynette, try and find the list of executions that Clervie was talking about, and see if her name is on it. Fremine, you stay in Poisson. We can't be the only ones who've had run-ins with Clervie. I need you to collect intel on everything she's said and done.
Understood.
I'll try my best.
What about us? What should we do?
I really appreciate your willingness to help, but this is a family matter. I don't want to drag you in too deep. It's too risky. Let me think. Since Father considers you to be guests, maybe you could stick by her side for a little while. You don't need to do anything except keep up some nice, casual conversation.
Ah, Paimon gets it. You want us to distract her.
I'll give you a magic bird. If Father suspects something, all you need to do is release it when she's not looking, and it'll alert me that something's wrong. Of course, that's only as a last resort. If Father doesn't seem to notice us, there's no need to make contact. We'll reconvene here tonight after all's said and done. If the worst case scenario happens and we're discovered, just tell Father everything. We're not going to let our guests get punished for our own actions. That's where we draw the line. You too. Okay, this is where we part. Father should be at the beach nearby. I really hope this goes well. No, it has to go well. That's the only way this can get resolved. Clervie, I'd like to take you somewhere. Is that okay with you?
Sure. Where are we going?
Well, long story short, we ran into a small issue. Clervie can't go into the sunlight. Everything was fine at first. She followed me up to the surface just like I told her. But as I led her out of the shadows and into the sunlight, she vanished. I turned around and there she was, standing at the edge of the shadows, silently watching me.
Huh. Maybe she's afraid of sunlight, or... No, it wouldn't be her wish if that were the case. Well, we could always try pushing her into it. Oh, true.
I've pretty much tried it all already. Nothing worked. Eventually, the sun went down, so all I could do was bring her back here.
I can't say for sure, but I think they've met Clervie.
You think she's been inciting them to act out?
No, not exactly. But I wouldn't be surprised if she said something to them about the dark. She's told me about it before. Experiments being run on children. People being used as pawns on the battlefield without so much as the strength to survive.
And they just believed all that? Without any evidence?
Clervie's words probably gave them the excuse they were looking for. Whether they actually believe them to be true is secondary.
Oh, well, in that case, we should just plan on running away. We'll grab Linny and the others and we can make a break for it as fast as we can. Look! Look over there! Quick! Let's catch up with her before anyone sees! Over there! Oh, where is she going? Oh, if someone sees her, we're toast! Oh, look! She stopped! Clervie!
Shh. I opened the window while no one was looking. Look how pretty the outside is. If only I could have more than this. You probably think I'm being silly, huh? All this hopeless resisting. It's better to dream of what I could have than try to make it a reality, right?
Please, help us get on the same page here, Clervie. We need you to tell us what you know. Can you do that?
Sure. Although, after you hear all this, I think you might regret that decision. Everyone in this family is nothing more than a tool. Something to be used and exploited. As long as you're useful, you get to stick around. Lose your value. You're handed over to the doctor, experimented on, and given a fate worse than death. I've seen it happen again and again, and I've had enough.
You're saying the knave did all that? It's just, that doesn't seem like something she would do. She's scary and all, but it seems like even she has lines she wouldn't cross.
I knew you wouldn't believe me. Everyone thinks she's a good person. They all think of her like a real mother.
Mother?
But she doesn't deserve that title. She's disgraced it and tarnished it. And if I had things my way, I'd never see her again. If only Perry were here, she'd understand.
Perry. There's that name again. Also, Paimon's getting a strange feeling. It almost feels like she's not really here with us. Paimon can't tell if she's actually talking to us or if she's mistaken us for someone else. Well, in any case, it seems like she really needs someone to talk to. We should keep her company for a little longer. She looks so young. But it seems like she's been through a lot.
It's getting windy. I should close the window. Ooh, look at the moon. Isn't it pretty? Hey, wanna hear a secret? I heard that if you look up at the night sky in Snezhnaya, you can see the aurora. It's supposed to be super pretty. Even Perry and I promised each other that once we're older, we're gonna go see it together. But I can't find her. I'm worried she's also been... No, that wouldn't happen to her. She's special. Mother likes her a lot. I should really go talk to Mother, but we just fought. She doesn't want to see me, and I'm too scared to face her. What should I do?
Paimon really doesn't understand what's going on with her.
It was before I became a harbinger, and before Linny and the others joined the House of the Hearth. Due to certain events, I first killed Clervie and then her mother.
You were the one that killed Clervie?
Patience now. Allow me to explain Clervie's side of the story first. I'll start from the beginning. Clervie was 6 years old when she was brought by her mother, Crucibina, to live in the House of the Hearth. From the outside, it seemed like a fairy tale. A thriving family made up of kind adults and friendly children. Crucibina was the knave at that time, and the House of the Hearth was under her control. She was Clervie's mother by blood, but she was also the mother to all the children in the house. Clervie was happy here, for a time. But she quickly realized that being part of this family wasn't a fairy tale at all. It was a kind of purgatory.
Purgatory?
Exactly. The House of the Hearth takes in war orphans from all over Teyvat. But as for how to raise them, that depends entirely on the person in charge. Crucibina came up with a novel idea. She would teach the children to fight, force them to duel each other, and then crown as the king of the house the child who proved themselves most worthy of inheriting her title. It's difficult to estimate the number of children who died or were maimed in the process. There's little I can say about the ones who died. The ones that emerged with permanent injuries, on the other hand, well, they still served a purpose. They would be handed over to the doctor to be experimented on, or sent away on dangerous missions. Nothing more than tools to be used and then discarded.
So those were the experiments Clervie was talking about. But what actually happened to her? You said that Clervie was Crucibina's daughter, so if Clervie tried to convince her to stop what she was doing, Crucibina probably would have listened, right?
Despite being Clervie's mother, Crucibina cared little for her daughter. She forced Clervie to join the House of the Hearth only as a means to demonstrate her own impartiality as a mother, to prove that she treated all her children equally. Clervie did try to convince her mother to change her ways, but it was to no avail. After her efforts failed, the only other option was to rise up and try to fight back. Unfortunately, the other children had already been thoroughly indoctrinated into the illusion of happiness Crucibina had created. Of course, there was one exception. Someone Clervie's age who knew the truth about the House of the Hearth. Her name was Peruere.
Wait, the friend that Clervie mentioned?
Friend, huh? I suppose we can call her that for now. Clervie was a cheerful and passionate person with a tenacious spirit. Peruere, on the other hand, was rather cold-blooded. Her cold-blooded nature allowed her to see through Crucibina's facade. Yet, it was also this cold-bloodedness that prevented her from acting against it. At least at first. While Clervie longed for freedom, Peruere was convinced that, amid all the fighting and violence, she would make it until the end. Despite their differences, the two became fast friends, united by their knowledge of the truth. Clervie told Peruere that she hoped to create a real family, where no one would be killed or sacrificed. There may have been a certain naivete to her ideas, but Clervie proved her determination many times over. She tried countless times to run away, ask for help, or expose the truth. But her efforts only earned her beating after beating. The only thing that kept her going was her strength of will. Even with her body racked with pain, she would still stand on her tiptoes and open the window at night. She and Peruere would look out at the moon together, a fierce longing for freedom shining in her eyes. But one day that light simply vanished.
Oh no. What happened?
Her hopelessness resulted from a culmination of things. 10 years had passed. 10 years worth of failure after failure. She and Peruere weren't children anymore, but finding any chance to escape still seemed as hopeless as ever. It was during this time that Peruere suggested a new plan. If escaping was out of the question, why not take down the very person sitting on top of this throne of lies? Mother, her Clervie rejected that proposal. She claimed that, as a famous harbinger, Crucibina possessed an unimaginable amount of power. Trying to kill her would have an incredibly low chance of success. Clervie never gave another reason, but Peruere could see it written all over her face. Clervie still thought of Crucibina as her mother. Killing her own flesh and blood was a line she couldn't bring herself to cross. If she couldn't escape and fight back, then only one option remained. Precisely. Death was the only way that she felt she could be free. It happened during a duel. When she arrived at the dueling ring that day, her partner turned out to be none other than Peruere. The very person that had stood by her side all those years. It was a fierce battle. But ultimately, Clervie decided to let Peruere end her life. From that moment on, Peruere's journey was one written in flames. When the rain finally came and washed it all away, there she stood, the sole victor in Mother's endless game of slaughter. A trail of corpses strewn across her path to success. It was the very result she had predicted 10 years prior. Even then, she believed she would make it until the end. She wasn't surprised by the fact that she emerged as Mother's undisputed heir. Rather, her success left her with an inexplicable sense of restlessness. She was unsettled. And there was only one thing that could quell that sensation. Perhaps you two would like to take a guess as to what it was?
Crucibina, you mean? But...
Correct. This is the place where Peruere killed her best friend. A mere year later, this is also the place where she fought tooth and nail to kill the mother they shared. The moment she acted, any conception of what was right or wrong ceased to matter. It's one of the principles of the house. Only those who survive get to write the rules. Peruere won the battle, and became a harbinger herself. After which Her Majesty, the Tsaritsa, bestowed upon her a new name. Arlecchino.
So the Perry Clervie was talking about... It was you all along. You're Peruere. Arlecchino is just a name you got later.
I left that name behind long ago. I must say, hearing it now does bring back memories. After I defeated Crucibina, the moniker of Mother died with her. I chose to forego the title she called herself, and even chose to give up my own name. I rebuilt the House of the Hearth under a new identity. Not only as Arlecchino, but as father. And that is where the story ends. Any more questions?
Yeah. Based on what you just told us, Clervie wasn't a little kid when she was killed. So the Clervie we met... Was she really a spirit at all?
I suppose you could call her an illusion born of flame. Her existence is like ashes to a fire. Something left over in the wake of blaze and ruin. You see, a certain power runs through my veins. It's not unlike a curse. My flames leave behind shadows of anything they consume. Of course, the chances of those shadows morphing into a sentient entity are exceedingly slim. Clervie is a very special case. Clervie died when she was 16 years old. But what emerged from the flames was her 6-year-old self. Her appearance wasn't the only thing affected. Most of her memories were lost to the blaze as well. Memory is a mysterious thing indeed. Losing a portion of your memories will alter your sense of self. Lose 10 years' worth, however, and it would be like living in the past. Like returning to a version of yourself that never grew up.
No wonder Paimon got such a weird feeling when we were talking to her.
Perhaps I should put it this way. Clervie is someone trapped in time. It may seem like she exists with us in the present, but she truly lives in the confines of her own past.
So if all of that is true, then you must have known about Clervie for a long time.
Indeed. She's a rather volatile and unstable entity. Sometimes she would look after the children. She's even saved some of their lives. But other times, she would hide from me and become obsessed with revealing the truth about the house to anyone who will listen. Shadows don't have the capacity to learn or grow. Any new information they encounter is quickly forgotten over time. Your attempts to expose Clervie to sunlight. They failed, yes. The reason is actually quite simple. In Clervie's mind, the house is impossible to escape, and it is this very perception that traps her there. But no matter. All I have to do is kill her again, and all will be resolved. I don't anticipate so much as a single speck of ash will be left behind this time.
Wait! Paimon can understand why you might want her gone, but isn't there another way? So what if she's trapped in her 6-year-old self? She's still your friend! At least talk to her first!
It's too late for that. She broke the rules, and now she must be punished. That goes for Filial and Nantoy as well. She's had quite the effect on them. I hope you understand. The difference between Crucibina and myself lies in our formulation of the rules, not our policy for enforcing them. Upholding the rules without question is a trait we both share, because that is how a household should be run.
Is this really what you want to do?
Whatever could you mean?
Don't you want to say a proper goodbye at least?
Whether as a killer or as a father, there are two things that must be avoided at all costs: anger and sorrow. Anger makes you impulsive. Sorrow causes you to waver. Well, it appears it's about time to proceed. Before we arrived, I told some of my well-behaved children to bring our troublemakers here by nightfall. I do believe I've kept my end of the deal. I gave your friends quite a bit more time. As for what happens now, we'll just have to wait and see.
Here they are, Father.
You gonna execute him? Seeing something like that would actually be a first for me. Lenny!
I'm sorry. I heard about how you helped buy us more time, but I still failed. I couldn't find a way to fulfill her wish.
Huh? Are you... Perry?
Indeed, it's been a while, Clervie.
Perry!
Shh, stay right there. I'm sorry to postpone our reunion, but first I believe certain scores need settling. Clervie.
Can we talk now? I've been waiting for a super long time. You really are Perry, aren't you? I haven't seen you in so long. How come you're all grown up? Wait, did I somehow travel to the future on accident? Or am I dreaming? What a long dream.
Neither. You died, Clervie. That's what happened.
You could have at least sugarcoated it a little. Look, she's done speechless.
Oh. Okay then.
Huh? That's it? You accepted it just like that?
Yep. If that's what Perry says happened, then I believe her. Plus, I don't really need to know why I'm like this. I'm more curious about what happens in the future. If you're a harbinger now, Perry, that means Mother is gone, isn't she? Can you tell me about it? I want to know what happened to her. And to me.
You never stopped trying to defy fate. At first, no one believed you. You could only vent your frustrations to the moon. In fact, you often sought comfort in the night sky. You wanted to see the aurora, so one night we promised each other we would go to Snezhnaya to see it together. Later on, you tried to run away, but you were brought back each time. Mother spared your life, but it wasn't out of kindness. Instead, she decided to make an example of you by slowly torturing you over time. That way, the other children would know what happens to traitors. Still, you never gave up. Mother hoped that through ruthless duel after ruthless duel, she would be able to crown an ultimate victor among the children she raised. But you called on everyone to unite, to fight to a draw in order to reduce casualties. Your efforts may have only delayed the inevitable, but still. You gave them hope. You tried everything you could think of, but every attempt ended in failure. Still, you never turned your sword on Crucibina, and you never turned it on me. On that gloomy day, you told me, for the last 16 years of my life, I've done everything I can to fight for freedom. But now, I realize that the only freedom I truly possess is the freedom to choose to die.
I never imagined I would say something like that. I must have been feeling really worn down. But somehow, I still think I understand. According to Mother's plan, only one of us was going to make it until the end. And I always hoped that person would be you. If I could do it all over again, I still don't think I would make a different choice. Even when I first met you, I knew you'd be able to do what I couldn't.
Is that so? Even now, I'm not sure I truly understand what kind of freedom you were trying to pursue. But as the head of the House of the Hearth, and as the children's father, I've tried to give them the most basic of freedoms. The freedom to choose their own fate. It's something I discussed with the Eudex of Fontaine. The children who want to leave the house will have their memories wiped clean of all secrets pertaining to the organization. In return, they will be allowed to live a normal life in Fontaine without being prosecuted for their past. Of course, I won't simply hand freedom to them on a silver platter. They have to fight for it and prove themselves worthy of it. Only freedom that is earned has true value.
That's more than enough. That's exactly the kind of life I was fighting for. You know, Perry, I think you're a pretty amazing king, and a really great father, too. I'm really happy that you're the one who took over the house. I guess I do have one regret, though. I still haven't seen the outside world.
Well, it just so happens that our dear guests over here have been to many nations and traveled to countless places. Perhaps they would be willing to tell you what the outside world is like.
Really? Of course! We've traveled all over the place. We've got so many stories, we could probably talk your ears off for 3 days straight!
You know, I used to dream of being a bard. Playing the lute while singing into the winds of freedom. Even if there was no one there to listen, I would have continued to sing no matter what. Ah, that's where Mora comes from. I never knew that before. If I had some Mora, I would buy 3 new dresses. One for me, one for Perry, and one for Mother. It's just too bad Perry doesn't like wearing dresses. And Mother, well, she probably wouldn't accept something like that either. I guess I'd just have to keep them all for me then. Those yokai you mentioned. I once saw a drawing of this one guy with horns on his head and a super scary face. Are there any yokai like that?
Oh, sounds like you're talking about an Oni. Yep, we've met one, and let Paimon tell you, they're not nearly as scary as they look.
I was always too afraid to skip Mother's fighting lessons. But at the academia, I bet you could do all sorts of secret things in class. Things that have nothing to do with studying. I'm just kidding. Being able to study whatever you want without having to fear for your life actually sounds pretty great.
The situation was super dangerous. Lenny and Lynette were accused of committing a crime, and they were going to have to stand trial at the Opera Epicles.
Oh no, that must have been hard for all of you. What happened next?
Don't worry, we were able to turn the situation around super quickly, all thanks to Detective Paimon, of course.
How'd you do that? Come on, tell me.
Okay, so it was like this. After the failed magic show, we rushed to the scene and...
Shadows don't have the capacity to learn or grow. Any new information they encounter is quickly forgotten over time. Clervie. You've worked tirelessly from the shadows to overthrow the House of the Hearth. Now, by my authority as the Knave, I shall announce how this matter ends. You are hereby expelled from the House of the Hearth. You are no longer tied to this place, nor are you bound by its rules.
You're saying that I can finally leave? I get to experience the outside world as well? Oh, I almost forgot. There's no getting older for me. Still, seeing who you grew up to be makes me really happy, Parallel. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.
May we meet again someday.
Clervie. She left so soon. Paimon didn't even get to finish her story.
I also have certain sentiments left unsaid. I wanted to tell her that the aurora I saw in Snezhnaya was just as beautiful as the ones in the pictures. But a shadow's memories reset at dawn. Had we delayed any longer, we wouldn't have had the time to say goodbye. Whatever regrets may linger, let them be lost to the coming of a new day.